So, what steps do you see schools taking to get closer to this mindset? Or are they taking the steps?
Well, I think what the pandemic has taught us as educators is that, like, there's no way that you can close academic gaps if, like, you don't tap into the mental intelligence or social emotional intelligence that kids have or lack, right? Like, I think we've always known in urban communities that, like, our kids come with a set of experiences, or what we call ACEs.
Tell me about ACEs.
So these are experiences that students have had, that they're traumatic experiences that impact how students show up every day. And so, like, we have learned that, like, these experiences have kept them from being able to access what they're learning in class. And if they're not in a good socio-emotional space, then they're not going to be available for learning.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the first step, acknowledging that, and giving kids the tools to be able to, you know, understand what that means for themselves, so that they can actually move past that. Because there's a lot of hurt. Like, even as adults, we have a lot of hurt that we haven't really, like, actually unpacked. And if that's our story as adults, I can only imagine kids who are holding so many things on themselves that they don't have to be holding on to. And it's just creating a space for them to share that, and know that they can move past that, you know, in order to, you know, be successful. And yeah.
What's the role of a teacher versus a parent? From your point of view.
The only difference is the title itself. You know, I think at the end of the day, teachers, parents, they all want the same for kids. They want them to be successful. They want them to be loved. They want them to be prepared. They want them to be challenged. I think everybody wants that. I think based on your experience, determines, like, your perspective on how you think they should get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately the difference, is just the position. And I think being able to appreciate both, understand both, is the big piece. And I think the only way in which to reach that point is through relationship. And so it's bigger than, like, I think we have to be very intentional as educators to, you know, create a space where we can get to know the families in which we serve outside of the academics. Like, academics is important. It will always be important because that's what makes you competitive to other people. But do I know you? Do you actually know who I am? Like, what is your experience? Let me share my experience and, like, find some commonalities there. Because once you have that foundation of a relationship, like, it just makes things much easier to navigate, whether it is a corrective conversation or whether it's a shout out, you know, or showing or celebrating love for a kid. I mean, I think that relationship is really pivotal in terms of bridging the gap between an educator and a parent or guardian.
Okay. So within your experience, now that we know the difference between a teacher and a parent is the title itself, what do you think DC can do in terms of resources, and how would those resources better help you do what you would like to do in the education setting? Very long-winded.
Yo, Juice, you got some deep questions.